like to call the North Aurora Village Board meeting of Monday, January 18th, 2021. We'll open with a silent prayer meditation. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have roll call, please.
Mayor Berman?
Here.
Trustee Carroll?
Here.
Trustee Curtis?
Here.
Trustee Capino?
Here.
Trustee Gately?
Here.
Trustee Lowry?
Here.
And Trustee Martinez?
Here.
I have a proclamation, and this is support for completion of the Fox River Connectivity and Habitat Study by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Whereas the Fox River was central to the lives of Native Americans inhabiting the Fox River Valley in Wisconsin and Illinois for over millennia, providing an abundance of food and water to wildlife and those native populations. And whereas the Fox River was central to the lives of the early settlers of the Fox River Valley, providing a source of water and power to mill the grain to feed those settlers, saw the lumber to shelter those settlers, and drive the early machinery, which formed the commercial and industrial base that gave first growth to our community. And whereas sustained and increasingly diligent and effective efforts have been made over the past century to reduce and eliminate pollution and changes to our river's natural shorelines, and whereas most of the dams constructed on the Fox River have no flood control benefits or potential for the economic generation of sustainable electricity or mechanical power, and whereas the Fox River, while showing significant improvements, remains the subject to water quality impediment created by those dams with associated impact contrary to the interest of public safety, recreation, and public water supply. And whereas the United States Army Corps of Engineers has undertaken the Fox River Connectivity and Habitat Study, called the Connectivity Study, to evaluate the environmental, social, and economic effects and engineering feasibility of dam removal, including integration and coordination with related federal and state programs. Now, whereas the information to be attained and revealed in the connectivity study will be essential to an informed public decision for the purposes of entering any project partnership agreement, and that it is in the public interest for the United States Army Corps of Engineers to complete the connectivity study and report its findings to the public. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the President and Board of Trustees that we declare our support for the immediate resumption, timely progress, and conclusion of the Fox River Connectivity and Habitat Section 519 Illinois River Basin Ecosystem Restoration Program Project Implementation Report and Environmental Assessment, dated this 18th day of January 2021. Mayor Berman, Village President. Audience comments. Do we have audience comments at this point?
Yes, Mr. Berman. Carolyn Salazar would like to speak. Carolyn, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, state where you're from.
Sure. Hi, I'm here in North Aurora. I just good evening, everybody. I was contacted by a lady who lives here in North Aurora. She's not really very good at Zoom, and she asked if I would pass along her concern, and I said that I would. It has to do with the way that the snow is plowed at the crosswalks on the corners. And she was just wondering if it was all, she's, I guess, somewhat new to the village, and was wondering because the way that the snow is plowed, it blocks the sidewalks to get across the street to the sidewalk on the other side. And I actually just live one house in from a corner. And that's true. When they plow the snow, they push it up 3 or 4 feet high. And the homeowner doesn't then go and shovel that 3 or 4 feet of snow. And so you end up having to walk to the next driveway, cross in the middle of the street to the other side at a driveway, perhaps, and get across the street that way. So I'm just wondering if that has ever been brought up before, or if anyone has ever expressed that concern before about the way that the snow is piled onto the corners and it blocks the sidewalk. Thank you.
It certainly is something that's been brought up before. I think that we don't have an ordinance that says you have to plow or shovel your sidewalk. Maybe we should have an ordinance that says people who live on a corner should clear the sidewalk on the streets. Obviously, we're not going to have village employees do that. And I think. No,
I guess I was just wondering if it could be plowed like into the middle of someone's lot as opposed to piling it up on. In other words, like just pile it on a curb, but not pile it to the sidewalk. If you could just maybe, I guess that was my only thought about it, is maybe it could be plowed to a different place instead of piling it on the corners. I don't expect the homeowner to do it. No, definitely not.
Mr. Laskowski, do you have any comments on it?
Certainly, Mayor. Yeah, this is a common concern of some of the residents that live and walk in town. The nature of the plowing operation is such that the guys are generally following the curb line of the street, and so the snow is continuously spilling off the edge of the blade of that snowplow. So it's kind of indiscriminate of where it goes. They're not intentionally trying to block those crosswalks. It's just kind of maybe an unfortunate byproduct of the plowing operation themselves. I think if you wanted to either contact me later or send me an email with this resident's contact information, my street superintendent, Brian Richter, has been plowing for 17 years, and he's able to explain the ins and outs much better than I could.
Sure. I will, because she asked me to look into it. So if someone could follow up with her, that would be great. Sure. And I mean, the plowing is different at the corners than I understand. Like, I live here, and I understand that they come up the street, and as they plow, it just throws it off to the side. And so the end of my driveway, there's a little bit of a pile of snow, but they really pile it up 3 and 4 feet high if there's a lot of snow on the corners. And then you can't traverse at the corner to the other side of the sidewalk. So, but I'll contact you with it by email, John. I'll get your.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Any other speakers at this time?
No, Mayor Berman.
Pardon?
No, Mayor. I did not see anyone else wishing to speak.
Good. Trustee comments.
Yes, I have one. I'd like the village to consider naming the siloed Berman Tower for the years of Dale has served in North Aurora, and for the fact it was his plan to light up that tower. So I'm requesting that we look into naming that silo Berman Tower. That's my comment.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That would be quite an honor.
It was pretty much all your idea, Dale. So I think it would be only fitting to name it after you.
What has to happen to do that, Steve?
It would come back to the village board as a resolution, I would assume, so that there's a formal action with a formal name adopted. So for the historical record, so we know exactly when and what it's called.
Very good.
So yeah, I'd like to have us look into that.
Any other trustee comments? Consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino,
Yes.
Trustee Gately,
Yes.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Good. New business, it looks like it's Mr. Laskowski's evening. He has items 1 through 5. So
Thank you,
John,
Mayor.
if you want to start.
Sure. The first item is the approval of a purchase, installation, and integration of VFDs for our wells number 5 and 7. A VFD is a variable frequency drive, and maybe the best way that I can explain how it works is if you consider the difference between a light switch and a dimmer switch for the lights. Essentially what a variable frequency drive does is it regulates the amount of electricity going to the motor in a well and prevents the well from starting too quickly. And it also prevents a large amount of pressure then from entering into the distribution system. So its job is to protect both the pump and the pipes immediately after the pump. So as all well equipment is kind of specialized equipment, this is the same case. There's not a lot of companies out there that manufacture VFDs. And so when we looked at how we were going to procure this particular part, we looked at 2 different companies, Allen Bradley and Cutler Hammer. Both of these companies, we have VFDs in our system. And we've determined that the Cutler Hammer models were cheaper, and that was probably the better route to go when purchasing the VFDs. The next part of the process came with the installation and then the integration. So with the installation, there's not a lot of companies out there that perform this either. So we found 2 companies that, we found one company that does the installation, Energenics, and they purchase the VFD from a company named Eaton. Eaton does not directly install these items, only Energenics. So if we were to purchase the VFD, we wouldn't be able to do so from Eaton directly. You have to get it from a specialized installer. Additionally, when you integrate this VFD into the system, it's an electrical part, but it's controlled by the SCADA system. And this is the system that's used to monitor and operate the well equipment. So it's basically a bunch of programming. So Energenics is capable of installing and integrating the VFD, and they are also the company that's provided us with this service in at least 3 of the last 5 wells that we've installed these in. When we were looking at Energenics, we found that they offer a 3-year warranty, whereas if another company was to procure the VFD from Eaton, that warranty would only be 2 years old. And then in order to check ourselves to make sure that we were getting decent pricing on the VFD, we contacted our neighbors in a neighboring village and kind of relayed to them what kind of pricing we were receiving, and it seemed in line with what they were getting as well. In addition to that, just to confirm that our price was good, we then contacted our consulting engineer, Engineering Enterprises Incorporated, who also said that it's in line with kind of the industry pricing. So we're asking to purchase 2 of these VFDs because they're both well 5 and 7 are near the end of their life. These items don't last forever, and these are 14 years old, which is about at their life expectancy. So we're asking to purchase 2 of these and have one installed sooner and one in down the road. And if we were to do that, the cost of these would be roughly $79,900. So at this point, staff's seeking approval to utilize Energenics to supply, install, and program the 2 new VFDs for well 5 and 7 in amount not to exceed $79,900.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
That's for both BFDs, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino,
Yes.
Trustee Gately,
Yes.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
and Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Item 2, John, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 2 is a maintenance agreement for the town center wetlands. The agreement's with Hay and Associates. They've been performing this maintenance and inspection for the last 3 years at least, and they do a good job of making sure that the wetland is in compliance with the requirements of the Army Corps of Engineers. They regularly call me when they're out there doing their maintenance, and I go out there and collect as many ticks on myself as I possibly can. The maintenance agreement is for 1 year. It's in the amount of $20,000, and it's paid for through the SSA Fund 17. It's the staff recommendation to approve the agreement with Hay and Associates.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion approved.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino,
Yes.
Trustee Gately,
Yes.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
and Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Item 3, John.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a 1-year extension of the existing lawn mowing and landscaping contract with Siebert. Siebert's performed well the last 2 years. They've added properties when we have asked them to, and they've also taken on the abatement mowing, working closely with the Community Development Department. This would be an extension, the final extension of their contract, and it would be in the amount of $44,495. It's the staff recommendation to extend this contract for the final year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino,
Yes.
Trustee Gately,
Yes.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
and Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Item 4, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the award of a contract for placing riprap in the mill race to Schwartz Excavating in the amount of $41,498.60. This would complement the stone that was placed along the mill race a couple years back by village employees. This would be on the south side, the steep bank there adjacent to Village Hall. This project received 16 bidders this time, and that was more than we had expected. The low bidder was actually Schlaffage's Brothers. However, they did not submit an alternate bid for this project. The alternate bid was issued in an addendum because initially the project was going to have the village take advantage of its stone allotment from Lafarge and procure the stone at no cost from Lafarge in North Aurora, and then just have the contractor haul it and place it. Midway through the letting of this project, we've learned that the Lafarge at North Aurora does no longer manufacture the type of stone that we're using because it's a bigger stone. And so we issued the addenda to include the cost of purchasing, hauling, and placing that stone. So some of the companies did not see that addenda and didn't offer an alternate price. We did check with Schwartz Excavating, the second company that submitted a bid, and their references were good. And we are recommending that we award the project to Schwartz Excavating in the amount of $41,498.60.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. How are they going to do that?
That's the $1 million question.
That's a $41,000 question.
Do they go over the fence that we have or the barricade that we have there?
We have that in the contract for the fence to be removed optionally. So they would just take the bolts out and drop the boards and get in that way. Or they also have the option of going around Riverfront Park and trying to go from the opposite side.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino,
Yes.
Trustee Gately,
Yes.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
and Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Item number 5, Mr. Laskowski.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the approval of Lane Christensen to perform all repairs and rehabilitate well 4 with an increased cost of $82,959. If you recall at the November 2nd Village Board meeting, staff had kind of explained the process of a well being pulled. At that time, we did not know the condition of the pump or the pipe or any of the components of the well that were underground. It's just kind of hard to understand what condition all of those items are in. We had budgeted, we had approved a budget amount of approximately $150,000 to pay for these repairs. And once the well was pulled, that meaning the pipe was all pulled out, the pump and the motor were pulled to the surface. They were taken to our contractor shop, Lane Christensen, where Paul Young, our water superintendent, and village engineer Brandon Tonorelli met with Lane to inspect the damage that had occurred to the pipe and the pump and the motor. It's a lot of the damage, I shouldn't say damage, but a lot of the wear and tear is a result of the composition of the water. So depending on how much of, depending on the chemical composition of the water can directly relate to how much corrosion may occur on these components. This well has been pulled in the past as well, and repairs were made in the past, both to the electrical cable and to the pump itself. When they pulled the pipe, or when they inspected the pipe and the pump turned out to be in worse condition than it had originally thought. We were suspecting that it might need minor repairs. However, the entire pump's going to have to be refurbished. Similarly, with the electrical cable that runs from the surface all the way down to the motor, that cable had been repaired in the past. It was spliced. When it was tested, it was found that it was also had another bad section. It was the assessment of both the water superintendent, village engineer, and myself, as well as the recommendation of Lane that we should replace that cable in full instead of having a cable in 3 segments underground that might need to be pulled in the future. So essentially, there was a lot more damage to the components of the well than we had originally anticipated, and that accounts for the increased cost of rehabilitating this pump and the piping. So it's the staff request to ask for an additional $82,959 to continue all of the repairs to rehabilitate the well.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis?
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino?
Yes.
Trustee Gately?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Very good. I don't have any, let's see, where are we?
Old business.
I don't have any old business. We need to adjourn to a committee of the whole meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
A motion to go to the committee of the whole.
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're going to committee of the whole meeting. Yeah, we start right now.
We're ready, Mayor Berman.
All right, call to order the committee of the whole meeting of Monday, January 18th, 2021. Yeah, roll call, please.
Mayor Berman?
Here.
Trustee Carroll?
Here.
Trustee Curtis?
Here.
Trustee Gaffino?
Here.
Trustee Gately?
Here.
Trustee Lowry?
Here.
And Trustee Martinez?
Here.
All right, our first business on committee of the whole. Mr. Bosco?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 1 on the agenda tonight in the committee of the whole is the concept for the Forest Ridge Townhome development. This is a unincorporated section of property that is just west of the Whinstone subdivision, just east of Woodman's. This concept was brought to the board in April of 2019, went to the Planning Commission for a public hearing and review in September of 2020, It went to the committee of the whole as well in September of 2020, where there was a lot of resident conversation with the board, a lot of comments, and the petitioner has come back with some revised plans based on some of the comments they heard from the board and from the residents. And tonight's review is of that revised plan and whether or not to move it forward for annexation approval or to a different step. And Mr. Toth is going to lead us through the discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I think you kind of touched on most of what I was going to say. So I'll be a little brief here, get into the presentation. But Steve is right. It did go to Plan Commission September. It's come back to Committee of the Whole since. We did obtain feedback from the village board this time, and I've been working with the petitioner, their architects and engineers on revising the plans since the last COW discussion, which they're going to go over that tonight. Just one other point of discussion, which I included in the staff report, was throughout several of the conversations, we're discussing the opportunity to have a park within the development. I did actually reach out to the Fox Valley Park District to discuss any means of obtaining some sort of small pocket park in the area. It's an 8-acre development, so it's limited with regards to space when you consider the outlots and the cell tower. But the Fox Valley Park District said that their minimum threshold for a park in this situation would be about 5 acres, which would assume more than half of the development. So the developer instead would be doing a cash in lieu for some of the land to the park. So, I think I'm going to let the petitioner get into the presentation for tonight. The only thing I did want to add, which Steve briefly mentioned, was, we're just going to discuss the development plans and the updates to the plans. I foresee this coming back for a future COW discussion pertaining to the annexation agreement and the draft PUD agreement that would have to encapsulate this development. So I see another preliminary discussion happening tonight. So with that, I will hand it over to the petitioner to allow them to go through the developments and the changes that were made.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody. So there you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody giving feedback and allowing us to keep coming back and adjusting on this. We really have taken the last few months to work very closely with Mike and really take all the suggestions and the concerns of not only the village, but of the residents, and try and just come up with every opportunity we could to have solutions and to work within those suggestions. So this is really what we've come to after, it's been probably well over a year now of us trying to work with this and find the right fit for everybody. We really do believe in this project, and we really do think it's got a great fit here in the village of North Aurora, and we think that everybody around will be happy with some of the changes we've made here. So I don't know, Mike, do you control the slides? So one of the first things was there was a concern with some of the lack of uniqueness, and Matt Haylock and Mark Richards and Ray were the civil engineers and the architects on this project. And it has been hard to really give a good visual picture with where we were at. So I know that the perception was that there was going to be almost a massing effect. I think the opinion was it was almost going to be like 4 or 5 or 6 just blocks of houses. So we went back and we tried to really work with giving a little bit more individualism to each unit. And as you can see from the sketch, we laid out a couple of different things to change. Some of the roof pitches and some of the uniqueness with the windows and some of the way the trusses are laid out and the roofs are laid out, and just a little bit more individuality on each of the units so they don't look as cookie cutter. They will see when you go into some of the next few slides how they're going to start to come out. But on the backside over there as well, I know some of the residents were concerned about what they were going to be looking at. We did go on the rear elevation sketch here, and we put some back patios in a little gated area on the back over there to make it really look nice and homely. Mike, if you can go to the next one. Thank you. And this is a little bit of the elevations here. So the exact color schemes, obviously we can still work around a little bit, but we did just want to illustrate that they did have character, and they're not going to be just all bundled in a row and looking like just a bunch of Legos in a row. They are really going to look like a nice community. And we do feel like they're going to be, if not at the level, most of them should be above the level of a lot of the other subdivisions that are in the area and have been approved. And we're working to really give some character and some homeliness to each of the communities. As you can see on the side here as well, the end units are going to have windows and doors and stones. They're going to have character. So at no point should there really be an angle of these buildings that should be an eyesore to anybody driving by on Oak Street, coming around Forest Ridge. And more importantly, obviously, we really want the people in the neighboring subdivision to have something that looks like it's part of their community, not just something that was thrown in there. And we feel that we've made some adjustments on this to really take those things into consideration of any of the weird angles that they might be seeing. Hopefully this paints a little bit more of a picture that they're just looking at neighboring houses and people that they can have a nice visual and hopefully a personal relationship with the people that are going to be moving in next to them. Mike, if we can go to the next. This is just, again, the front elevation. So you can see, again, we're trying to just work with taking out some of that perception of the fact that they're all just in a row and it's that massing object of it. We really have changed some of the colors. You can see that each one has a little bit of a different layout. You can see that some of them have the windows on the top, some of them don't, some of them have the fireplace, some of them have some of the extra doghouse. We can change some of the way that the stone, some of the way that the siding is going to really, again, just try and give some unique character to each one of those. We can adjust the way that the garage doors are, the ways that the front doors are. We can change where some of the side lighting is over there. And again, we really do feel when you look at some of the next 3D renderings that you're going to be very happy with the way that these came out and looked. But again, this is just, we went over a bunch of different options with stone and with siding and with colors and with pitches and with roofs and with layouts, and tried to really work within what the initial approval was when we met with you guys a while back, and work within the restrictions of what we are able to do with the land that we have and with the civil engineer and with all the other things we have to take into account. We do feel like this is one of the best options to really give some of that individuality and really paint some of a visual picture for you guys for what this will look like when it's finished. Mike, if you can, it's just another close up of it, you know, just a little bit more of a visual here. Same thing, we can move on to the next one. So this is, again, more of a 3D rendering now. So there was a few things that we did need to take into consideration from the initial suggestions that we were given. One of them Mike had already brought up. I know some of the residents really wanted a park. We absolutely did entertain that. We tried, Mike made calls. We did some research. We were more than willing to try and do that. Unfortunately, as he said, they just wouldn't accept the amount of land that we had to donate to that park. So we were not able to, but we absolutely did take it into consideration. And we really did look for every way to try and make that possible. We even looked into potentially getting rid of the duplex in the back and try and making that more of an area. And it just unfortunately wouldn't work. So we did try and find a solution for that, but we will be giving a significant amount of impact fees to the the Village North Aurora Park District. So we will be contributing 2 parks for those residents. They just, unfortunately, there's just no way to make them directly part of our subdivision, but we did attempt to hear you guys and make that happen. There was also a little bit from the trustees about the trees and keeping the stuff there. And I think in the notes you can see, I don't have the notes directly in front of me, but there was something in those plans to agree to try and tag every tree that was, I believe, over 6 inches in diameter, 12 inches high. There's notes on there on the paper, just with the view I'm seeing, I can't see it, but they are marked that anything, I think, past 15 feet of where the development is going to go, those trees are going to absolutely be attempted to be saved. And more importantly, what we did is when we worked with Matt Haylock and with Mark, the civil engineer, you can see that there's some trees and some plants that we've already put in the landscaping design to really try and still give it some of a community feel and keep it green and keep some plants there and some trees and some life and some vegetation and really keep that greenery and that sense of community to make it look nice and salvage some of the nature there, because it is really a nice piece of land. So every effort will be made to keep as many trees as we can, and we will also be making commitments to putting extra trees in there as well. The other thing is that we did get this drawn up to show a little bit what we were trying to give more of a verbal of. I don't think it really did the job for the neighboring residents of the massing again. I think that this does a really good job of showing that there is going to be staggering on the front and the back of where these are coming in and coming out, and they're not just all in a straight line, which I know was part of the perception and the worry that it was, again, that block massing. So we felt that getting the streetscape made up of the block as a whole would hopefully give you a little bit more satisfaction, a little bit more peace of mind, that we're not going to put an ugly, crappy, block product up there. We're going to put a really nice development that you guys are going to be happy to live by, that people are going to be interested in when they drive by. And hopefully while people are walking their dogs or driving by or jogging by, it's going to fit in beautifully with the rest of the village around there. And again, I believe in this because there is a shortage right now. There's people looking to buy homes and they're flying off the shelves, and there's people looking to rent, and there's just no quality products. I'm at the Springs right across the street. I do feel that our product is going to be nicer than that. And from what I was just looking around, this does seem to be one of the nicer subdivisions around as well. So I feel like that there's a big need for that right now. And while people are moving out of the city and they're looking for townhomes and places to make their home office with everything going on with COVID, I really would love to make a nice, beautiful quality development so people can pick North Aurora as their place to live. And I really want to get that up there before something in the market shifts. So we tried to make something desirable that will go fast. So people will hopefully want to live there and stay there for a long time and move in there quick. And hopefully that solves some of that problem. There was also some other things that we wanted to discuss. Mike, if you can go to the next one. So I know you really can't read the details on that, so I'll talk about this quick and then we'll just move on to the next one. But we did make as much as we could. We looked into actually taking some of the density out of these. I know there was some talk about that, and Mike had already said that we were actually on the lower end of density, and obviously being a developer, we're trying to keep those in there. But we looked into taking out different units to see what we could do to actually put more in there for the village and for the neighbors for some of the things that they were looking for. So what we did is in the second building here, we actually cut a unit out. So that's down to 5 units now. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it is, because it allows for certain things that I think will make the residents happy next door, which is, first off, at a financial hit to us, we were willing to do that because when you look at that now as the whole of the project, it allowed us to stagger some of these buildings that there's different spacing between them, which again will change some of that look of just buildings being splattered across that development. You're going to see that there's a little bit of a different shift. So it will give it a little bit more individuality, and it will give it a little bit more character. And there will be a little bit more space in between each one of those buildings. Some will have more than others, but I think it will give a nice view for the people that are in the neighboring community to be able to look at, which you'll see in the overlay. So they don't feel like they're looking out their windows and just staring at a bunch of back doors. They will be able to see past that. They'll still be able to see the fields. And again, I think it'll give them a nice view. But more importantly, what it did is it allowed us, if Mike, you can go to the next slide. It allowed us to put a walking path in, which I know was a big concern and something that you guys were asking for, which we're taking all your suggestions into account. We're really trying to work within everything we can. So if you look over where Outlot A is, on the north side of that, closer to Oak Street, we're actually able to put a walking path in. Again, I don't know if you can tell exactly on there, but there's some dotted lines that run along Outlot A, and they come around the detention pond over there for Windstone. So those dotted lines, moving that over allowed us to actually put the walking path in there in this next subdivision over sign. So there'll be more space between Outlot A and the neighboring building over there to the south. And then on that north side over there, we actually have the walking path that we'll be able to put, which will be around the 2 ponds, which I think will be nice, and will lead right back in over to Oak Street. So you guys really won't have to worry about having a spot that people are going to be having a lot of foot traffic and car traffic and things that are going to be going through your development. We tried to put anything we could in there for places to maybe walk your dogs or just stretch your legs, or have a designated walking place that wasn't interfering with the development and where the people live, and having strangers walk through, or any of the concerns that I know you guys had. We really tried to do our best to, again, come up with solutions and just find ways to put everything in there, even in some of these at a financial loss to us. But, we did base a lot of this on the initial meeting we came in, I believe, April of last year. And we have taken all the suggestions, and we've taken all the feedback very seriously. And we've worked very closely to try and make this work, and work with the civil engineers and the architects and the village and the residents. And we really feel like we've run through every scenario we possibly could to get everybody the best solutions for what they need and come up with a great compromise. And this is really where we're at with it. So we're just really hoping that you guys understand that we are trying to do everything in our power to work with you, not against you. And we're just looking for a way to kind of get this wrapped up, because building costs are just skyrocketing and projects are getting more expensive. And we really like to be able to do something nice here for everybody around, including ourselves. And again, just thank you for listening, and thank you for giving the suggestions. And we hope that this helps paint a little bit more clarity and give a little bit more of a visual for some of the things that I don't think we were doing, unfortunately, a great job of giving you with words. So I apologize for that. And hopefully these pictures in this presentation will help some of that.
I have a question. What price points are you looking at? And do these units have basements?
Yes, these units will have basements. And initially, the pros and cons of the way the market is we were looking at 275 to 325, but as we've been looking at that now, similar townhomes that are not even as nice with similar sizes and layouts are now going closer to 375. So, right now we probably, if they were built right now, we'd probably put them on the market at about 350 to get them a quick sale. But we do have that's around what we're looking for the price point. But that's obviously going to be a moving target, debating on market demand. But that's where it's at right about now.
And what is the square footage on the units?
I believe they were going to be about 1,600. We moved it a couple of times, so I forget where we laid out. I believe they are on the notes though.
What would that be? 2 bedrooms with loft, 2 and 3 bedrooms?
3 and 4 bedrooms. So the end units will be 4 bedrooms, and the middle units will all be 3 bedrooms.
Okay, so that's something different than what we've got in our inventory right now, because I know most of our townhome products are 2 and 3 bedroom from what I've seen. No, I think it's a great concept. I appreciate the work you guys put into it. I think it's going to be a good fit for that location.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm fine with the product. I think I like the idea that you cut down the density and you put a pond and a walk path and change the elevations. I think it's, I'm fine with it.
I like it as well. I think they listened to what we had to say and what the residents kind of preferred and did what they could with the project. So yeah, I think it will look nice.
Yeah, I want to compliment you on taking the information from the neighbors and from staff and the board and reworking the project and coming up with a nicer offering. So I compliment you on your efforts and appreciate that, and hope it would be a long-term relationship with you and the village.
We hope so. I very much enjoyed working with everybody at this point in the process, and we're definitely looking forward to doing a lot more. And I just appreciate everybody being open with the communication on this, and it's been great. And hopefully, it's the first of many.
I really appreciate your compromise, by giving up that unit. A lot of people don't understand how much a unit can make or break, for you guys to be able to make a cut in there for the sake of the people that you're going to have purchasing. It speaks really nice of you. And I appreciate that compromise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good with the project. I think you guys did a really nice job of receiving the feedback from the residents and from the village, and we appreciate that because I think it'll go a long way in building, fostering the community with the existing homeowners. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think that, I don't know if we taking audience comments. I think I see a hand raised. Okay. I'm not sure if you want to open it to the audience.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. David,
I'd like to comment as well.
Okay. Valerie is first, and then Christina, you will be second.
Thanks.
I would like to comment too, but I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I apologize. This is Cheryl Stetter.
All right. Let me get a list going here.
Thank you. Is there a raise hand button?
Yes, there is. I got you though.
Thank you.
Valerie, go ahead and speak and state your address, please.
Valerie, you're on.
Okay. Valerie should be unmuted now.
Oh.
Okay. Christina, I believe you are next.
Hi. As I'm looking at the map, the full-scale view of the map, and I heard them talking about keeping trees that were over 15 feet that were outside of the subdivision. As I'm looking at what's boxed in here, I'm thinking that all of those trees are going to be gone with the exception of maybe two. In this section that's right by Oak Street in the corner right over here. Those are very, very mature trees that are honestly the most beautiful part of our subdivision. So taking those trees out right in that corner, I would have really liked to seen some reduction in the number of townhouses and the volume in that corner. Like I said, that is really the most beautiful part of our whole subdivision, and we're taking all of that out.
Well, just so we're clear, nothing comes out outside of the subdivision. It would just be the tree preservation plan would be within the confines of the property. The 15 feet, I think, relates to the spacing from the actual building footprint. You know, through the construction process, there is basically room needed to actually build the homes. The tree preservation ordinance, you know, suggests that trees, you know, can be sacrificed for the building footprint, for driveways, even for detention slopes and swaling slopes and things like that. So I think that this next step would be to, and that's the area we've been focusing on too, is I've been working with them, is to say this is the area that we need to do the best we can to preserve. So again, it would be those trees that are of a certain quality at a certain size that we'll be looking into.
Hey, Mike, this is Christina's husband, Dave. Thank you guys for hearing us out here. In that, the section 1 closest to Oak Street is where my wife is referring to. And this is the only space really in this whole development that really has big old growth trees. And it seems like where they are planning to put the townhouses essentially bulldozes all of those.
That was one of the community's large complaints when we discussed this, because my husband and I had participated in these meetings several times. That was one of the community's complaints, and that wasn't something that really has been addressed in this new plan. As I see this box, that is highly concerning at how many trees that's taking out. We recently took some photography of the that I would love to share with the community during the fall time. Is absolutely gorgeous, let alone the wildlife that is housed over there and what those trees do for the area surrounding us. I also, that is a selling point too, is to have those trees over there. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, I'm not sure within the restrictions there. Obviously I'm happy to look at it, and the goal is obviously to save any trees over there we possibly can. You know, I live across the street from there right now, so I'm definitely on board for it. I just don't know what the options were. I would have to go back with the civil engineer and talk with Mike and see what the setbacks and all that stuff were. That's not really my lane, but I'm definitely open to the discussion to try and figure out a way to make that work.
Okay,
that's great. Thank you.
That would be great. I you know, just looking at the layout, to me, it seems that the least amount of volume should be put right in that front section to preserve that tree area right there, because there's all kinds of just open land right over here, where by section 2, I can't see more of the map to refer to it, but I'm saying if the volume was changed in the certain areas or lessened in section 1, the trees in that corner could be kept.
Ray, are you on? Ray Simca?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, do you know if there's a way to do that? And just for the record, for the residents too, you know, we definitely love those trees. I love the way that looks. So if there's a way to make that work, that's the preference. There's no, you know, the intention was never to come in and take those out. We planned on trying to leave those, just as you know, things come up and requirements and setbacks and stuff. So, Ray, do you have any thoughts on if there's a way to do that, since you guys really, that's more of your expertise than mine?
Yeah. All right. So we changed the grading in the rear yards to, so basically to save as many trees as possible in the rear yards, both behind building 1 and the rest of them. But the low point of the whole subdivision and where we need the detention, the outlot A there, we can't really move that. And even if we were to move it, it would wipe out trees also. So unfortunately, the only way to save those trees would be to eliminate building 1, and that would make the project impossible.
Yeah, one thing we talked about too, maybe we were getting into the thicket of it too, was to examine that sidewalk. We do have some high growth trees there, was to really maybe hone in on the placement of the sidewalk adjacent to Oak Street. It doesn't have to be, run to, parallel to Oak Street, but there's ways of looking at it. If we can maybe meander it a little bit through that area, that 50-foot setback there is because by code, there's a 50-foot landscape conservation easement that will basically span that 50-foot from the building to the property line. So that would all be reserved for landscaping in that area. So maybe there's ways we can go back and revisit the idea of the sidewalk and making the sidewalk kind of contour to some of the tree lines in that area, if possible.
Yes, the sidewalk can go anywhere. That's fine, but I don't think that's in the way of the trees that they're hoping to save. But yeah, we could adjust that definitely.
What about? I mean, I see this giant outlot A. There's really no trees right there. Why wouldn't building 1 go there, and then you preserve as much as possible when it comes to, the beautiful nature that exists naturally there and was certainly here before you guys, decided to come on in. I'm not understanding why there is this area of conservation in Outlaw A where you're not really conserving anything. You're just conserving a field, and you're talking about bulldozing, and putting a pond, and you're talking about bulldozing a bunch of beautiful old growth trees. This isn't really adding up to me.
Well, because the detention basin needs to be at the low point of the subdivision, and the overflow for all the offsite area needs to come through. Do you see, if you see the dashed blue line that crosses the property line, there's a wetland there that's on both the other subdivision and ours, and so that is where the water currently runs through our site and then onto the field to the west of us. So the outlot A there, it's not a conservation, it's a detention basin, which will be planted in wetland style to match what's currently out there. But it needs to be where the water wants to be anyways. Otherwise, it's going to just cause problems off-site and on this site also.
Right, and that was part of, I think, what we did to work with. I know the drainage was initially like one of the biggest issues, and I think that was what we were able to do to fix the drainage issue. So, with this project, there's been a lot of give and take for, well, if we do this, then we don't have that, and we're trying to attack the biggest things first. And unfortunately, with the layout of the natural land there, sometimes it doesn't allow us to move things around as we would hope to. And I think that's just one of the things where, with the drainage being such an issue there, I don't think we were able to do that anywhere else. Otherwise, we would have definitely been happy to.
Well, I think that there should definitely be great consideration given to the conservation of the trees in section 1, because it's an awful shame that all those old growth trees are right in the path of these townhouses. It's terrible. I mean, I live right behind there, so I see the animals and everything that live in there, the deer. I definitely think it's something that should be given serious consideration. Not only that, the beautification. If we're just going to go cut down all the trees, then we're not going to be left with much.
I agree. I will make every intention to work with Mike and work with the civil engineer and do everything we can to try and keep all those there. I love them. I think that they look awesome.
Has it also, Nick, been a consideration to push the lot
Okay, next person to speak is Cheryl Stetter. If you'd like to speak again, you'll have to do it in order, please.
All right, next speaker is not.
All right, this is Cheryl, and is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. I live in Windstone Place as well. My backyard is, you can see my place set right in this picture. So I will be facing the area that doesn't have any building on it. However, I can say I do appreciate the walkway. That's a really nice addition because people walk around our whole neighborhood from all different areas around this neighborhood. The point I would like to bring up is, just so people are aware, is that I do a lot of trudging around back there in building 2 and building 3. There are still a lot of signs out there that say wetland delineation in the area of the building 2 structure. And then next to building 3, there's another group of pink flags out there that say existing drain tile. And I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I appreciate that, Cheryl. We did get a full, very detailed NCAP report there to make sure that they measure all that out and they don't do anything they're not supposed to. And we ran that by Mike, and we ran it by the civil engineers to make sure that they weren't doing anything where the land wasn't supposed to. So I believe Mike has that report, and I think that we were all clear for all those things. But obviously, if anything popped up, that would be caught, and we wouldn't be drilling into any wetlands or any place like that. That was one of the first things we had to do was spend some time and some money making sure that all the wetlands and the preservations and everything were salvaged where they could be, and that we were building in spots that we were going to be able to and not destroying anything that shouldn't be messed with over there.
Okay. It could be, those signs could be closer to the pond. But the existing drain tiles goes pretty far down, so that might just be something to take into consideration with that building 3 in the distance between building 3 and building 4. That might be just something to keep in mind. That's where those signs are at.
Definitely,
The
I appreciate
other
that.
comment I would have is it was discussed, the topic of planting trees was discussed, and the pond is such a pretty area, and there's always tons of people walking along there. To have a row of trees that blocked the backyards of that kind of the pathway in the back of buildings 2 and 3 by the pond would be a really ideal spot to have those planted, to have like a planted row of trees or bushes or something like that. And it would give some privacy also to those people in those buildings, because there's a lot of foot traffic on those,
Sure.
on that path.
Yeah, we're definitely open to that.
Okay. And my last question for you is, where are the 6 deer going to live that are currently living in my backyard?
Oh.
And now that it's winter and it's snowing, we can see them out there at nighttime in the snow, because it's kind of bright outside. And there are always about 6 of them, and they're right in the back of our yard. And they'll even lay down and hang out there. What interesting.
Yeah, I know. I love deer. I love nature. I would love to be able to give a solution for that, but I think overall, that's just going to have to be something that the village has to decide. We went initially with the comprehensive plan, which was that they always planned on building here, and they plan on building townhouses here. So unless they don't want to do that, I don't know a way around that. I mean, I would love to. I love animals. I'm a huge animal lover. I'm a huge nature lover. I always try and look for deer when I drive by there. So if there's a solution, I'm definitely open to it.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. I appreciate the feedback.
Just a quick comment. I don't know if the presenter has the landscape plans, but we do have a row of screening trees along the rear of lots 2, 3, 4. And that drain tile, we are accounting for that. We're picking that up and routing it through the buildings, and it's accounted for. So thank you.
Okay. Are you building a fence, or what are you doing on the other side of the cornfield? Just out of curiosity.
I don't think there's a fence.
On the other side of Forest Ridge, I don't believe so, no.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much for letting us give our opinion.
Definitely. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
I inadvertently cut off Christina Nelville, so I apologize to her for doing that. I thought she was finished speaking, and I thought another person jumped up in front of her, so I do apologize.
So who's next?
Christina, would you like to continue speaking?
Yes, thank you. I just, I'm curious, and I don't understand why the subdivision is so close to ours. If there's this big field in front that is going towards Woodman's, why aren't we just pushing the subdivision back as a solution to keep the trees, give a little bit of space and privacy? Why is that not an option?
I believe that would be a civil engineer question.
Because that seems a great way that we can preserve those trees for the beauty of both neighborhoods.
The simplest answer to that is that's not the property that we own, and the owner of that property is not willing to develop at this time. He wants to wait. So
yeah, she's not interested in selling at this time.
Yeah.
So the property that we're developing is what we have to work with.
And then you guys are planning on connecting the paths, I see?
By Hearthstone?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the walking path that goes around our big pond is going to be connected to...
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I thought you meant by Outlot B down there.
I think that would be up to...
yeah, we showed that as an optional. So if Windstone is interested in that, then great. If they're not, won't put that connector in.
Yeah. All right, let's have somebody else. Who else speaking now?
Next, we have Valerie.
Good evening. Yes, I thank you. I do apologize for earlier. I was having some audio issues, but thank you. I would just like to say thank you and compliment you on your revisions that you've done. I think the buildings look awesome. I love the variations of the colors and the different styles that you have on the actual buildings themselves. They look a lot less cookie cutter from the rendering that I saw tonight. So I would just like to thank you on that. I also wanted to thank you for adding the walking path. I think that's a great feature. And we, the residents that live in Windstone can utilize the walking path as well. I did have a question about the landscaping that you're going to be doing in the backyards. What is that going to look like exactly? And I can't really see the full layout of all of the townhouses. Are you still going to have that one area with the duplex?
Yes, the duplex is still in the back by Outlot B, by Hearthstone. And as far as the landscaping, that's my fault. I should have included that landscaping plan in this, and I didn't. I forgot. But Ray, was that you or was that Matt who did the landscaping?
Well, I could just step in there for a second. So it's included in tonight's packet. So we did not make it in the presentation, but if you go to the village board packets for tonight's meeting, there is a comprehensive staff report and all the various memos that have been involved with this case thus far. The landscape plan is still actually in that. So if you go to the village's website under government and follow that to the committee of the whole packets, you want to look under tonight's meeting and it'll have the landscape plan. It's probably towards the end of that. I don't think anything has changed since the plan commission meeting with regards to that, other than what was maybe around the pond area.
Okay, thank you. And also in regards to the trees that are currently already established and on the property, as much as we would like to, conserve and keep the look of that, I also understand that the reasoning behind positioning where that detention pond is because that is where the lower part of the property is. we just want to make sure that Windstone doesn't have any drainage issues as well. If there's anything that can be done to try to save those trees, that would be great. We do enjoy seeing the deer come out at night. So I just wanted to add that in there. But thank you very much for listening to us and making the revisions that you have done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I love deer. I think deer are great. I love nature. I love the trees, and we'll do everything we can to preserve that.
All right. Next is Sonia Gomez.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
I live in the Windstone community as well, and I just want to thank you, thank the board for allowing us to put our opinions out there in the past meetings, and for the builder listening to us. I've been on some other North Aurora meetings, and there are some builders who are not at all willing to listen to the community. So definitely appreciate all you're doing to listen to us. As others have said, I would love if there was some way to not have anything on by building one, because the trees are there, but I understand about where the drainage has to be. You know, nature has determined where that detention pond is going to be. So I understand that, and hopefully you can figure out something. But I just had just a question is, there are some coyote dens. I don't know if you know that yet in the times that you've come out, but there are definitely lots of coyotes in that area. So I was just curious as to how you relocate them, or what do you do with the coyotes? I know not everybody loves them, but their nature, that's their home. So, yeah.
Mike, what's the protocol been in the past in situations like this?
Well, I think in our case, the village doesn't have an animal control department. I would think we contract with Kane County. So if there are any sightings of anything out there, King County would probably be the respective authority to go to in that situation. But
I'm happy to look into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Berman, that was the last person I see asking the wish to speak.
That's the last. Very good. Thank you all for your comments.
Thank you, everyone.
Pardon? Trustee, have any trustee comments? Very good. Our next item, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2 is a 6-month budget, or I should say 6-month financial review. Our finance director is going to take us through the first 6 months of budgets for our major fund. And basically, this is kind of a precursor to not only giving you a window into the last 6 months, but it's setting us up for our budget hearings, which is coming up in a couple months. With that, Finance Director Bill Hanna is going to give the overview.
Earlier today, so tonight we're going to sort of walk through it really quickly. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. So like Steve said, this is an overview of revenue and other financial information year to date. We started our budget process last month, and that is underway right now. We do anticipate giving the board an update at a future committee meeting. Our draft budget is scheduled to be completed on March 13th, and we're scheduled to have a committee of the whole discussion on that on March 16th. So again, if you have any questions or comments along the way, please feel free to stop me and we'll answer the question. The first thing I wanted to do and kind of take a step back, if the board recalls, when the COVID pandemic was underway, we had an opportunity to make some last minute changes to our draft budget in April. And so we made a series of changes in order to anticipate what we thought was going to be some really bad effects to our budget and the local economy. So we looked at it and decided to reduce our sales tax budget by over $500,000, income tax by $300,000. We delayed some other purchases, delayed hiring positions, and we were also going to transfer $600,000 to the capital projects fund, but we reduced that to $200,000. So you can see a summary of the changes we made to the draft budget before it was passed, and that was our desire to really pass try and pass a balanced budget, even though the pandemic and the effects of that with the mitigations and restrictions was well underway at that time. Now, kind of 6, 7, 8 months later, you know, things have kind of turned around overall much better than we thought. Taking a look at our sales tax revenue, our sales tax revenue for this year is currently up about 14% or $300,000 during the first 5 months versus last year, which is really quite remarkable. Several reasons for that change include the North Aurora Auto Mall has been doing very well. Probably counts around 200,000 of that compared to last year. We did begin cannabis sales in January of 2020, and that's obviously applicable as well. But one thing that we knew, but it was really emphasized, especially over the last 6 months, was, you know, grocery stores and other essential smaller stores really did very well over the last 6 months, and we certainly have a variety of those within town. So with all of those positive things, we did have some negatives, but certainly much more positives since this fiscal year began. So we're really projecting sales tax revenue to be close to 5.3 million this year versus our revised budget of around 4.6 million, which would be about 8% more than last year if that holds true. Now, we still have certain what I call micro issues, you know, in our certain retail areas within the village, you know, that are causes of concern. But from a macro level, village-wide, we've done very well. This kind of what shows you some of the actual numbers. And you can see when the pandemic started, we can see we had the year over year in March, April, May, negative sales tax for those 3 months. But beginning June, July, August, September, and October, we've really seen that come back really strong there. So it's really quite remarkable if you think about it. And I think we're blessed to have such a robust, resilient, you know, economy that's been able to weather some of those changes that we've endured. So we're going to keep monitoring this. But right now, that's kind of what we're thinking we may end up at the year at. So we've actually turned out to be in a very positive situation. Another major revenue for the general fund, obviously income tax revenue. So this is actually up 19% over the first 8 months of the year. And the main reason for that, and we'll look at the numbers in a minute, is that the state changed the filing deadline from April to July last year. So really, we wound up collecting money in the current fiscal year that we should have collected in the prior year that we would have received in May. So really, it's just a timing difference for the most part, and that accounts for the biggest part of that variance. There's still some uncertainty, you know, with this going forward, and income tax revenue is really impacted typically 12 to 18 months after you have an economic event that really impacts that. So we're going to wait and see how that kind of turns out over the next year or so. There's always LGDF concerns. I know the board is aware of that. That's just something we're just going to monitor going forward. But overall, because of those timing considerations, we're projecting just under $2 million this year versus a budget of about 1.6 million. And if you look at the actual numbers here, you can see, and the board is well aware that income tax revenue that's received by the state, remitted to the village, really varies a lot on a monthly basis. You can see where we had those delayed payments where we should have received the money back in May of 2020. So we had a 50% decrease, and we really received it in August and wound up with 100% increase over the prior year. So in essence, we really received about 13, 14 months of revenue in a 12-month period, which is why we're going to be over budget this year for income tax revenue, but we should see that smooth out and level off over the next year. Really couple quick notes on property tax revenue. Just as a reminder, we discussed in the past, we've seen an increased share of our property tax revenue dedicated to fund our police pension obligations. So that's that blue line that you see right there. The sort of the green line at the bottom is the property tax revenue that's allocated to our insurance fund for liability purposes. And the red line is what's left to remain in the general fund. And you can see, as we've talked before, that's been going down as we try to aggressively meet our police pension obligations and make sure that we're funding those appropriately. If you look at the numbers at the bottom, you can see on average, we receive about 2 to 3% more in property tax revenue every year. And a greater portion of that every year does go to meet our police pension obligations. The 2019 extension is what we're receiving in the current year, and the 2020 extension is what's estimated to be received next year. Just a couple of quick notes on building permit revenue. It's really tracking well versus what we budgeted. We budgeted 300,000. We're likely to hit that or slightly exceed it. We have a lot of development going on in town, a lot of redevelopments and small projects that people are doing that they've been home for the last 6 to 8 months. We've been seeing a lot of that. Lincoln Valley on the Fox has continued to develop at a good pace. So we're seeing that permit revenue come in as well. As of right now, based on the demand for housing and development and people doing projects, we think 300,000 is a pretty good base for building permit revenue to estimate going forward. We used to budget only around 200, but we think the new kind of average level is probably closer to 300. So we'll be looking to probably have that as our standard budget going forward. Just a couple of quick notes on cannabis. We did adopt a 3% tax back in effective July 1st of this last year. This is in addition to the regular sales taxes that apply to recreational cannabis. We originally had a guesstimate as far as what that would generate of around $600,000, and that was back in March and April. We really didn't have anything to go on. And our original plan, as we talked about before, was to allocate that money to the capital projects fund. When we passed our revised budget, we reduced that transfer out to about $200,000 because we didn't know exactly how this year was going to play out. For confidentiality reasons, the state and the Illinois Department of Revenue requires us to hold some of that individual data confidential. So while we can't really talk specifics, we can say I think the 600,000 was a fair estimate. I really don't want to say if it's a lot more or less, but definitely in the ballpark as far as what that's generating on an annual basis, I think. And that's something going forward, we're just going to roll those amounts into our other sales tax revenue when you see that presented in the budget and we talk about that going forward. So this is just some other revenues I wanted to briefly mention. You got my arrows, meaning it's doing really, really well or it's not doing so well. Use tax, we've talked about that a lot in the past about how people are shopping more online. There's been a lot of state laws passed to encourage and require compliance with out-of-state retailers to remit that use tax and those sales taxes to the state. Again, that's one of those per capita revenues distributed based on population. We think wouldn't be surprised if we're 23% higher this year than last year. So that's really been, for lack of a better phrase, a rock star revenue the last several years. And it's really, it's amazing how much that's expanded. Video gaming has been down, but that's kind of related more to some of the issues that we've been dealing with over the last 12 months. Telecommunications tax, that continues to go down. Even though we're showing it going up in the general fund, that's because, if the board recalls, we decided to allocate that fund 100% to the general fund because we were, with the hiring of village engineer, we were changing how we were paying for some of those engineering costs long-term. And that's why we made that reallocation. Cable franchise fees and fines and forfeits, those seem to be doing largely to what we thought they would be doing. Cable franchise fees have been not increasing as much as we thought. I think that's partly because people are going elsewhere for just spending their entertainment dollar instead of the traditional ways. Final note on investment income, obviously with the federal funds rate projected to be at 0 for the next several years, we're not expected to generate much of investment income based on our portfolio. So that's going to be a significant reduction over the next few years. We were generating around $250,000 a year the last couple of years, but that's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $20,000, $25,000, at least for the next 2-3 years, depending on how things go. One more slide on general fund revenues. Obviously, we received the $1 million from Kane County for the Coronavirus Relief Fund and the CARES funding. The OTB is temporarily closed as far as we know, and that's typically generated $40,000 in revenue for the OTB handle tax on an annual basis. Our amusement tax is down as well. Again, those are things that are very specific to some of the effects of the restrictions and mitigations over the last 12 months. So we'll see if those tend to come back. As the board is aware, we waived registration and liquor licenses. And so we've taken those into account. But overall, like I've said, we are very pleasantly surprised with our baseline projections at this point for general fund revenues being about 13.6 million versus a revenue budget of about 11.7 million. So about 1.9 million revenues over revenue budget is our projection at this point. For next year, we're going to assume a gradual recovery as we move through these phases and things are, begin to return to normal. Continued increase in use tax, slight pullback in income and sales tax revenue. We think there's some one-time type of activity going on there that we probably won't see at the same levels next year. We are anticipating at some point in the spring, we're not sure exactly when, that we will have our 2020 census figures out. And given the fact that our use tax, MFT, and our LGDF income tax share is based on population, we think we'll see an uptick in that as we are anticipating a overall population increase greater than in the change at the state level. Just a couple points on expenditures. Typically run a budget by 2 to 3%. We did hold off on hiring for a while this year because of the uncertainty, but we're moving forward on that front now. Our collective bargaining agreements expire except for MAP as of May 31st, 2021. MAP is already set at 2.5. Our health insurance coverages, we're doing very well as far as that, 0 to 2% increases typically. We have our pension costs going up as we've discussed, but overall, I think we're probably going to be about 2.2 million revenues over expenditures from a conservative measure at this point. At some point over the next several weeks, we'll discuss a budget amendment to fund potentially some projects with that ongoing. I know we have a lot of roads, storm sewer, facility issues to address. That's likely one area. There could be some other areas as well. But those will be something that we'll discuss over the next couple of weeks. And any recommendations that we have, Steve and I would bring to you at a future meeting. But overall, our financial position is very good. Our reserve levels are very strong and we're maintaining our AA+ bond rating and we're in good shape. Any questions on general fund before I move on to some other fund notes really quick?
No.
Okay, thank you. MFT, we've seen a significant increase in our MFT revenue over the last year and a half. Part of that's due to the ongoing new TRF funds from the new state gas taxes that we receive a portion of. That's turning out to be about $260,000 a year. The state allocated about $1.15 million in Rebuild Illinois bonds to us. We are receiving those funds semi-annually over a 3-year period. So we have additional MFT revenues to use. And obviously, as the board knows, we've been spending some of that money on LED street lights. There's a significant Orchard Gateway street light replacement project that is anticipated to be done this year. But even with doing those projects, we're estimated to have about 1.2 million in reserves at the end of the year. And we are going to use about $1 million of MFT funds to partially fund our road program. At least that is a plan at this point. And that's to free up other funds for other capital needs that have been identified over the last 6 to 12 months. A quick note on TIF. I know that we're looking at having some TIF discussions in the future, but we have 5 years remaining on the Route 31 TIF. Our increment this year was about $520,000. Major project completed was the renovation of the silo. And we're estimated to have about 1.4, 1.6 million in the TIF fund at the end of the current year. So the TIF reevaluation process is underway, and I believe there'll be some discussions at the upcoming meeting. Our capital projects fund, we receive about, as the board knows, about $1 million a year in non-home real sales tax revenue. It's been pretty level static, same as last year. We haven't seen big increases based on the items that the tax is applicable to, haven't really increased a lot. We have our utility taxes on gas and electric about the same as well. We've been setting aside funds as possible from the general fund to the capital projects fund over the last 2 years to try and build up that reserve level. And we've gotten that to about $3.6 million at the beginning of this current fiscal year. So based on some discussions that we'll have and bring to the board as well, we may be looking to set aside some funds to try and increase that in the current fiscal year. And again, we're setting aside MFT money for portion of our road program this year, which would be about 1.9 million. So that'll help offset the cost of that. Our water fund is doing very well as well. Our water charges are actually up about 10% this current year to date. We have a significant increase in a couple of our large users, and we're seeing a little bit more general usage across the board, people being at home, using more water. So probably the largest year-to-date increase we've seen in some time, but just based on usage. Usually it's pretty static or it's been slightly decreasing over the last several years. We received about $160,000 year-to-date in connection fees from Lincoln Valley on the Fox. We have about $500,000 left of our bond proceeds that we issued for our new wells, our new water tower, and various water main projects. So we are almost done spending down those funds. We're going through obviously several well maintenance and treatment plant upgrades and various studies. And our water tower project is ongoing, likely to be rebudgeted in the following fiscal year. And again, we had a 5.7 million unrestricted net position in the fund as of May 31st, 2020. So very strong, healthy reserve in the water fund. Just a couple of items of note. We made our last debt service payment on the library bonds that we issued over 20 years ago. So we are now debt-free as far as debt that is paid exclusively by property taxes. We do have some obviously alternative revenue source debt out there, but no debt that is payable solely by property taxes. Our liability and workers' comp coverage continues to be have no increase in cost over the last 4 years with IML RMAs. That's been very good. And we continue to address several IT projects, vehicle replacements, and various equipment. And we'll likely see some of those come up in future budget discussions. So I'm done talking. If anyone has any questions at this time, I'd be happy to entertain them or at a later date, whatever you prefer. Thank you.
I have a question about the GIS road program. Where are we with that?
As far as
implementation, where are we with it?
Well, the GIS program, I believe, has been, obviously it's been ongoing for a while. The road program is, I believe that was approved via engineering in the fall. Is there another aspect of it you were wondering about? I'd defer to John on that.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do something with using GIS to establish priority for.
Yeah, we're doing a reassessment of the pavement condition index, and that is estimated to be done in the next fiscal year. So I believe it was about 4 years ago that was done, 3 or 4 years ago. So they are definitely looking at redoing that so they get updated scores for all the roads in town and have better information going forward to determine what road segments to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is actually slated to go as early as hopefully the very beginning of the budget year. So we're trying to get that PCI study started in about June, if possible.
I would say that's an excellent report for the village, and excellent job, Bill.
Yeah, nice work, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, I had a chance to put some presentations, and maybe one of these days I'll get as good as you, because it was impressive. You know, the projection report and everything else. It was really good. Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
The only disappointment is our interest income.
You can't do anything about the electric.
But you have no control over that. Well, the next thing on our agenda is executive session.
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
There's no executive session on the cow meeting tonight.
Oh.
Okay. I didn't think so, but it says that.
Just in case you wanted to adjourn to executive session.
All right. We need a motion to adjourn to the village, back to the village board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're back in the our village board meeting. Do we need to take roll?
Okay. Mayor Berman?
Here.
Trustee Carroll?
Here.
Trustee Curtis? Trustee Curtis?
Here.
Trustee Gaffino?
Here.
Trustee Gately?
Here.
Trustee Lowry?
Here.
And Trustee Martinez?
Here.
All right, the next item is trustee comment. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, as the administrator, I don't usually talk under trustee comments, but tonight there is a proclamation to be read for President Berman, his recognition, and the trustees are going to read it by segment, and I believe we're starting with Trustee Carroll.
Yep. Proclamation honoring Village President Dale Berman for his many years of service to the Village of North Aurora. Whereas Dale Berman first began his service to the Village of North Aurora in 1966, when he joined the newly formed Community Development Committee, and then 4 years later, in 1970, became the chairman of the Planning Commission. And
whereas in 1977, he was elected as a trustee to the village board and re-elected in 1981, and again in 2003, where he served as trustee until 2009. And whereas in 1985, he was first elected as village mayor and ran for a term of 4 years and was re-elected as village mayor in 2009, where he served until his retirement on January 18th, 2021. And
whereas during his time as mayor, he is most proud of the village plan balanced growth, financial position with the AAA credit rating, the hiring and promoting the village terrific staff, the village's gateway entry signs, the digital community sign, the acquisition of the North Aurora Riverfront Park, and the illumination of the silo. And
whereas he has been a leader in the community organizations throughout many years of public service, included but not limited to Fox Valley Park District Board, 10 years, former president, Pravina Mercy Medical Center Foundation Board, 10 years, former president, Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau Board, 33 years, former president, Wabansie Community College Foundation Board, 29 years, current committee chair, NIU Alumni Board, 4 years, North Aurora JC's former president and JC of the year, North Aurora Lions Club, 50 years, former president, Lion of the Year, and
whereas he has lived in North Aurora for 58 years and is the proud husband to Mary, father to 4 daughters and grandfather to 8 grandchildren, and whereas he has distinguished himself as a hardworking and dedicated public servant at all times committed to helping his community and has provided invaluable leadership and guidance on many significant projects, and his dedication, enthusiasm, wisdom, experience, and kindness will certainly be missed. And
now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Village Board of Trustees of North Aurora, on this, the 18th day of January 2021, proclaim recognition and give thanks for the immeasurable years of service to President Dale Berman in the village of North Aurora, dated this 18th day of January 2021.
That's God, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dale.
Congratulations, Dale.
Yes, congrats, Dale.
Congrats, Dale, and good luck on your next venture. We're going to miss you.
Thank you so much, Dale.
Thanks for your service to North Aurora.
You.
I'm going to say a few words in a minute, but thanks. Administrative report, Mr. Bosco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the idea of this agenda was to lead in. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we haven't been meeting in person. So we had the proclamation read, which I have to admit, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but the trustees did a fantastic job. We have a plaque, which I'm holding in my office right now. The plaque reads, presented to Dale Berman, Village of North Aurora, for his 30 years of service on the village board as mayor and trustee. And we also have had the silo. We typically change the color each week of the silo since we've illuminated it. And for all those who haven't noticed, but this last week it was blue. And so blue is the mayor's favorite color. So we lit it blue and we took a picture and framed it for him. So we have this way for you as well.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, with that being said, last week, or 2 weeks ago, when you announced that you would be, this would be your last meeting, I held my comments, and subsequently everyone else went after me, thanked you for your time. So I looked like the one guy who didn't thank you for everything. Had no idea that was going to happen. I thought we'd all wait till tonight, but okay. With that being said, here's what I would like to say. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve both you and the board for all the years that I've been here. I really love North Aurora. It's been a great place to work. I look forward to working here in the future. And I've appreciated all the discussions we've had. We've had a ton of discussions about the village's future. We've had a ton of discussions about life in general, and I've appreciated all of them. And I know that we'll still see you around, and I wish you the best luck in your future endeavors on the King County Board. And thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you much. The Attorney General, as you were referred to once upon a time.
Well, I'm afraid that I'm the one that started that barrage of compliments to Dale last time, skipping Steve. So I apologize for that. But I really have enjoyed all the time that I've served under you, Dale, and with you. And I certainly look forward to serving under Mayor to be elected, Mark Capino, at the next election, and look forward to that. And wish you well, Dale. I know we'll see you around.
Thank you. Very good. Our village department reports, Mr. Hanna.
Congratulations, Dale, on your next adventure. I appreciate working with you. The last 15 years, there's been a lot of challenges, a lot of ups and downs, and just want to wish you good luck and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Community development, Tope.
Yeah, I'll just echo the same thing. It's been a real honor and pleasure working with you, Dale. I definitely appreciate your sense of humor. It was nice having you around for the meetings, and you brought a lot of brevity to the situation. So I appreciate that, and congratulations.
Thank you. We're supposed to be a report on what's going on. Not thanking me. Chief Fisher.
Dale, I just want to say thank you for your service and thank you for being such a great boss. I've been with the village almost 29 years now, and I knew you, or at least knew who you were from day one, and got to know you a lot better. And I just wish you luck moving forward.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Laskowski.
Hey, Mayor. I'm not going to call this goodbye because you'll see all of us driving by your house from time to time. So we'll look forward to that. And I'll tell you what, I'm never, ever going to forget the story about you driving through the drive-through at Dairy Queen with your 4 daughters and everybody getting a small cone. I mean, I have that up my sleeve and I'm going to use that one.
Oh, good. Like I said, I got lots of stories. I thank you much. You know, now I've been married 62 years and we've been in this house 58. And so we've been throwing stuff out like mad. And Mary was looking around today and she came across some pictures of when I was sworn in as mayor 32 years ago. Now, I love Zoom, but you know what we're missing? We're not going to have those pictures for us for our future. And it's a shame because it's great to look back and see that me getting the gavel from Bill Harding. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be able to hand it to our new man. It's been tough. It's tough. COVID is not the best. You know, yeah, 32 years ago, I had been on the board 6 years. So, but the average of my 6 board members was 1 year on the board. So it was an interesting time. And guess what? We didn't have any staff then. And that's been so great about this is our staff. And working with Bill, Hannah, all these years, I tell you, it's so great when you say that, geez, what do you predict for our revenue to be? What do you look at our expenses are going to be? And he does a super job of coming out on top of it. Very conservative and has done just an outstanding job for the village for all these years. And I'll tell you, and I know he's going to continue to do that. So, and Mike is, he knows what he's doing. He does a good job of dealing with our developers, dealing with the those that are interested in coming to North Aurora and for business reasons or whatever. He's very fair, very honest, and very smart. And we're really proud to have him. I think it's great to. We've had some good hires, Steve. And John, our latest addition to the staff, and he's really been a bonus to us. He's got just a great bunch of people working for him. Well, every department is super. And Chief Fisher, been a long ride, and I'm really proud of what you are doing with our police department. I'm proud of every one of them. They're just so sincere and so dedicated, and it's just great the way they work and the way they perform. So I appreciate all your efforts and good luck to you in the future. It's been a long time. Steve, your 8 years here have been outstanding. I call you the great communicator. I don't know if that's because you're on the phone all the time or what, but you do just a tremendous job of disseminating the information to the board and to the entire community. And I'll tell you, that's something we lacked for so many years before you got here. So it's really rewarding, refreshing, and I know that you'll continue that. So it's great having you be our great community. Thank you. Our trustees are all sincere, all dedicated. I think that they really believe in the village of North Aurora, and I think that's the most important aspect of being a trustee. Having it on your resume doesn't do a damn thing, and certainly the pay is not the reason that any of us were here. It's been tough. It's been tough with COVID, and I think we've done a fantastic job. We've all come through, I think, and really mastered it. Not that we've been perfect, but I think we've just done an outstanding job. So we got everybody, you know, our staffs and our supporting staffs are so great. It's really been great to work on. So, you know, what was it? When I left office in '89, I had a 3 pages of what I had to say. And it was somewhat what we accomplished, but you know, I think more than anything is what we had looking forward and what I really wanted to participate in for the next umpteen years. Well, I don't have that 3-page comment today. And it's because we've done so damn much. I know we got a lot going on too in the future, you know, nothing stops, but it was, we've accomplished all the things that I think that I was interested in doing back in '89 when I left, and we've done more than that. So it's been great. So I don't have it, but if anybody wants to read what I did the last time, you can. So it's been great. I'm going to miss it. You know, I love North Aurora. I'm anxious to work with the county board, and it's going to be a challenge. I'm on some many committees. I think all I'll be doing is reading minutes and looking at bills with approval. And I told John that, you know, we don't buy one truck at the county, we buy 10 at a time. So it's a little different. Thank you all for everything you've done. I tell you, the friends that I've met, people I've been associated with, developers and business people. It's been outstanding. It's been a great life. But I look forward to the next agenda. So thank you all. God bless. Good luck. See you then.
Thank you, Dale.
Oh, you know what I forgot? I was supposed to write a letter of resignation. And I have not done that. I hope that this whole evening isn't for naught, but I will put that together. So consider this my verbal and written resignation, retirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
New business continued. Steve?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had you covered. There's a resolution for the process to select a mayor to fill out the remainder of your term. And we were thinking ahead. So we put in the very first paragraph says, where you have stated that you will be resigning effective at the conclusion of the village president's report at the board meeting tonight.
All right. Yeah.
So with that being said, this is the process, and I'm going to send it over to Attorney Drendel to go through the process of selecting the acting mayor.
So the acting mayor is elected from among the trustees who are serving. So basically, you guys are going to elect a temporary mayor who will act as mayor until Mark, who is the only one running for mayor at the election coming up this spring, will take office. Whoever is selected by you guys as the temporary mayor will have all of the authority that the mayor has, except that if the trustee selected as mayor does not resign as trustee, the temporary mayor will continue to vote as trustee. And the temporary mayor will not have will not vote as mayor and will not have veto authority. On the other hand, if the person who's selected as temporary mayor does resign as trustee, then the temporary mayor would have all of the authority of the acting mayor, and a replacement trustee would be appointed by the temporary mayor with the advice and consent of the board. So that's the process.
But a replacement trustee does not need to be appointed, correct?
Well, the statute anticipates that that a replacement trustee would be appointed if the temporary mayor resigns as trustee. If the temporary mayor does not resign as trustee, then he would simply continue to vote as trustee, and there wouldn't be a replacement.
That wouldn't be something I recommend. You know, we went through this in 1984. We had a mayor left town and went through the same procedure. But I think it's in our best interest. Oh, excuse me, it's in the best interest of the board to have a trustee and an acting mayor both. My comment.
So at this point, do we make a reference to mayor?
The official terminology is temporary mayor, but in effect, you know, the temporary mayor is the mayor in all respects.
So I make a motion to nominate Mark Gaffino as our acting mayor?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Then I call for a roll call.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis?
Yes.
Trustee Gaffino?
Yes.
Trustee Gately?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
And Mayor Berman? Yes. Congratulations.
Hey,
Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, everyone.
We have a mayor again.
Hey.
We do, and to make it official, we have Natalie on the phone right now on Zoom, and as Deputy Village Clerk, Natalie is prepared to swear in whichever trustee it was. So with that, she'll be swearing in Trustee Gaffino as acting mayor.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I, Mark Gaffino,
Hi, Mark Gaffino.
having been elected by the Board of Trustees
Having been elected by the Board of Trustees
to the office of Acting President in the Village of North Aurora
to the office of Acting Village President in the Village of North Aurora
in the County of Kane,
in the County of Kane,
aforesaid do solemnly swear or affirm
aforesaid do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of North Aurora Village President to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of North Aurora Village President to the best of my ability.
Hey, hey.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
Okay.
Congrats, Mark.
I have one comment to say. You know, Mark and I have been friends for God knows when, but we've traveled to northern football games together, and we've talked a little bit about football, but you know what our conversation has been all the time. And we've done Toledo together, and we've talked all the way there and all the way back and to Detroit and all over. But the conversation is all about North Aurora and how great it is, but you know, how much that we wanted to even be better in the future. So you've got someone that really loves the village. And
Yeah, I'm sure.
really
I'm
works
sure
hard.
we'll still continue and talk, Dale. So
good luck, buddy.
I remember driving 5 hours from Detroit. I don't think we stopped talking about the village. Yeah, appreciate all you done. I mean, gosh, it's a laundry list. Yeah, a lot of things. They left out North Aurora of the Year. I noticed on your thing, and that was a great accomplishment as well. So.
You know, I cleaned up the office, took it off the wall. I hope they painted it.
Congratulations, Mark.
Well, thank you, Tal.
Congratulations.
Okay, a new acting mayor is in charge now, so goodbye.
So we go to executive session then?
That's correct. We have to now adjourn to executive session. And if you would, you just lead us by telling us what we're adjourning into executive session.
Okay. Item 1 is property acquisition, and item 2 is selection of person for public office.
Motion to adjourn to executive session to talk about property acquisition and selection of person for public office.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We won't be coming back either. So after that. Okay.
Right,
Any
so
opposed? No opposed? Okay.